So I was minding my own business, trying to figure out why I act like two different people when I'm either inside calling my friends or outside touching grass. And then I remembered I'm a psychology student. I study this stuff. So today we're talking about personality traits. What are they? Who invented them? And why do I suddenly become a motivational speaker at work, but a cryptid at parties? Alright, let's talk traits. Not like your average RPG or D&D stats, though honestly it's not that far off. In psychology, traits are these enduring patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that make you, you. They're stable over time, consistent across situations, and, get this, measurable. Like we can actually score you on how extroverted, agreeable, or neurotic you are. Traits aren't so black and white though. You're not either this or that. Instead, traits exist on a sliding scale. Think of it like a mood meter. Some people can learn more toward being reserved, others toward being expressive, and most of us land somewhere between the middle. It's not about fitting into a box, it's about understanding where you naturally tend to fall and how that shows up in different situations. In other words, you are technically rarer than most gemstones, because there isn't any other version of you out there, nor will there. Now, with this information, naturally, people will tend to theorize with what that noodle of yours is doing. And so let me introduce you to the game theorists who pretty much came up with all this beautifully complicated work on personality traits. First up, Gordon Allport. Think of him as the personality trait ice cream man, where he's serving up 3 different flavors Neapolitan style. Cardinal traits are super rare, but they dominate someone's entire personality. Think if someone's whole life revolves around justice or ambition. Then there are central traits that are your everyday qualities, honest, friendly, stubborn, stuff you'd mention in your average D&D character bio. Finally, secondary traits, which are more like quirks, ranging from you being super competitive when playing Mario Party with your bros, or getting another neuron activation the next time you see an attractive anime girl. Our next theorist is Raymond Cattell. He looked at Allport's massive list of personality factors and said, let's clean this shit up. So, using factor analysis, which is the fancy stats method, he narrowed over 4,000 different traits Allport got from the dictionary, all the way down to only 16 personality factors. He even built a 16 PF questionnaire, which is still used today to assess personality in clinical and workplace settings. After Cattell came Hans Eysenck, who said, wait, maybe personality is wired into our biology, and he proposed 3 core dimensions. Extroversion being about how outgoing and energetic you are, neuroticism, how emotionally reactive or anxious you tend to be, and psychosism, a wild card mouse-catool mix of creativity, aggression, and antisocial tendencies. Yeah, that last one's a bit controversial. Now to wrap this Justice League team of psychologists up, we have McCree and Costa, the Batman and Robin behind the Big Five, aka Ocean. Here's the breakdown. You have openness, consciousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And remember, these are spectrums, not labels. You're not boxed in, you're mapped out. So whether you're a data nerd like Cattell, or a biology buff like Eysenck, or even just trying to figure out why your friend cries during the Pixar movies, trait theory always has something for you here. So now that we've talked about traits, those stable patterns that supposedly define who we are, here's a twist. Not everyone agrees that traits run the greatest show. Trait theorists say that your personality is consistent, like if you're confident at work, you're probably confident at home, at parties, or even in the line at the grocery store without your mum. But situationists like Walter Mischel say, hold up, maybe it's not our traits, it's the context. Because of course there's always going to be something new to this. So now they're saying, maybe you're confident at work because you know the ropes, but you're awkward at parties because they're parties. Then we've got interactionists who are the peacekeepers. They say that behavior is a mix. It's not just who you are, but it's also where you are. Your traits interact with the situation to shape how you act. So the game theorists studied students and found something wild. People were consistent within similar situations, like being social at parties but not across different ones. So someone might be a total animal at a concert or a party, but as quiet as a mouse in class. That challenged the whole idea of cross-situational consistency. They took it further. They said that it's not just situation, it's how you interpret it. Two people can be in the same room, hear the same criticism, and react completely differently. One might shut down, the other might fire back. That's called an if-then behavioral signature. So, what does this mean? It means personality isn't just a checklist of traits, it's a dynamic system. You're not just confident or shy, you're a person who reacts to situations in patterns, shaped by your experiences, beliefs, and context. This changes how we assess personality, how we do therapy, and how we do predict behavior. It's not about boxing people in, it's about understanding the dance between who they are and where they are. So, we've talked about traits, situations, and the Psychological Justice League who mapped it all out. But here's something wild. Your personality isn't just shaped by your brain, it's shaped by your culture. That's right, your traits have a passport. So traits aren't universal. What counts as confident in one culture might be considered rude in another. Cultures shape how traits are valued, expressed, and even interpreted. Like being assertive in New Zealand might get you a leadership role, but you try that same energy in a Japanese culture, then you'll get ignored. In individualistic cultures like the US or New Zealand, it's all about independence and self-expression. Traits like openness and assertiveness get the spotlight. Meanwhile, in a collectivist culture like Japan or China, it's about group harmony and fitting into social roles. Traits like agreeableness and conscientiousness are the MVPs. So back in 1997, researchers found that the big 5 traits show up across different cultures. So yeah, we all have the same basic ingredients, but the recipe? That's where things get a little spicy. Different cultures mix and express those traits in totally unique ways. So someone high in agreeableness in, say, Brazil, might be warm and expressive, while in Japan, it might mean being quietly respectful and avoiding conflict. Then some researchers called Ashton and Lee came along and said, hold up, we're missing something. They added a 6th trait to the mix: honesty/humility. Think sincerity, fairness, modesty, basically the opposite to flexing. And get this, it shows up more strongly in non-English speaking cultures. So if you're the type who returns extra change at the checkout, you're probably scoring high on this one. Finally, a researcher called Hofstede and McRae teamed up to ask, why do cultures shape personality differently? The answer? It's a mix of what's socially desirable, like being humble versus being bold, genetic tendencies, where some cultures lean more emotionally reactive, and how people are raised. Cue your grandma's life advice and childhood chores. Basically, personality is a part of nature, and part don't embarrass the family. Now let's turn the lens on you. Think about how your culture shaped your personality. Are you more expressive or are you more reserved? Do you value independence or harmony? And here's a small curveball. How did your personality shift during the 2020 lockdown? Isolation, stress, uncertainty was like a global personality experiment we didn't sign up for. Maybe you became more anxious, or maybe you discovered you actually like being alone. Either way, it's proof that personality isn't just internal, it's shaped by what's happening around us. So yeah, your personality isn't a list of traits. It's a living system shaped by your biology, environment, and your culture. And that's what makes it kind of interesting. You think?